Hey guys, welcome to Broad Street to Britain, a UK Phillies show. And I am delighted to say I am joined by a very special guest. And he is one of the most biggest and renowned Philly sports fans, let alone Phillies fans, I'm going to say globally. Like, I think everybody knows who this guy is right now. I am joined by the Philly sports guy, Jamie. Jamie, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I was really excited, especially when you sent me the message. Hey, you wanted to interview me. I was like, really? I mean, you're a big deal over here. Everybody knows you over here, and they're like, do you know that
Wow.
guy from England who does all the podcasts? Is a big Phillies
UK
fan.
guy.
So I'm used to hearing that guy, but I always hear about you being that guy over there. So I'm
Well,
just happy to be on your show.
you are very much that guy over here because the amount of people when I've been to Passyunk and doing the fan events and people reaching out to me on the DMs going, it's a Philly sports guy coming? Like, is he coming to London for London Series? Just to confirm, Jamie, you are coming, right?
I am going to be there. Absolutely. There's no way I would miss this. I mean, if they're going to be playing a game anywhere, I mean, I try to get to as many games as possible, but I mean, to go over to London and go against one of our biggest rivals,
Right.
how do you miss that? There's no chance that I wasn't going to be able to make it to there.
I'm excited. A lot of I can tell you now, a lot of people are excited to meet you, let alone anything else, Jamie. Just to add to the whole experience, we'll get to London series very, very shortly. Just a quick note for the show: the London series guide. I have spent the last week editing it like crazy. It's about 35 minutes long. It should be out tomorrow. I've been hit with a bit of flu this week and a bit of cold, so I've been pegged back a little bit doing the voiceover stuff, but I'm back fighting. The guide, yeah, it's about 35 minutes long. It'll be on the YouTube channel. It covers pretty much everything to do with London, transport, hotels, London series, the stadium. I've covered it all for you, made it as insightful as possible. The events going on around the weekend, and it's going to be out tomorrow, and I'm so happy to see it out because it's a massive load and more work than even I thought it was going to be. It's been fun, but it's been tough work. But it's hopefully covers every questions that you guys have asked me so far. So any more questions you do have, guys, of course, reach out. Always reach out. I'm happy to help. Jamie, the Phillies right now. How about them fightings, Jamie? The best
Tell me
record in
about it. I mean,
baseball, top of the NL East. 8 straight home wins, 12 above 500. I cannot believe this. And it's May. It's early May. Jamie, what do you make of this Phillies team so far?
not something that we're used to. We're used to having to fight back later in the season.
Right.
But this team came in when I went to spring training. You could tell just the demeanor of these guys were like, hey, listen, we are not going to accept failure this year. We are going to the World Series and we're going to win it. And you to have that mindset in the very beginning and to have the camaraderie that this team has. I'm always a big fan of a team that drinks together wins together. And
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out to the bars or whatever. This team is having fun with each other. They enjoy each other in the locker room. They enjoy playing with each other out on the field. They're never out of a game whatsoever. I mean, they could go into the seventh and eighth inning and still be able to come back and win these games. And, it's not just been the hitting, it's been the pitching. The
Yeah.
pitching has been outstanding. I if Ranger keeps up this pace, he's going to be a unanimous decision for to win, maybe even MVP. Because I
Yeah.
mean,
Really?
already
Yeah.
he's proven to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, other than Wheeler, who's been lights out, Nola has been great, and
Yeah.
then even the young guys coming out has been just amazing. We can't talk enough about it.
I agree. And I still feel there's more to come. I still feel they haven't actually, the pitching's been great, but the offense, you still think there's more to come from these guys. Casty's going to get hot at some point. He's going to catch light. Gutted about Turner, but the great thing about the Phils, as we've seen the last couple of years, is everyone that steps up has that next man up mentality. Cody Clemens has showed it last year and so far this year. Souza's stepped through. Souza's actually not having a bad season at all when he has played. Even the guys, the bench guys, when they get the opportunity, they want to take it. And you're right, in spring training, it had that. It's business time, this business-like mentality. The fun's still there, the vibes are still there, but also it's like we're not having a postseason hangover this time. We're no excuses. There's no excuses. Let's get out there and get it. I did Alec Bowman, Brandon Marsh, the daycare guys are just unreal. And everyone knows I'm the biggest Bowman fan going, and I'm so happy for him. Like, if he can maintain this again, the sky's the limit for him. He's already playing his way into an all-star game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just been amazing. I mean, you think about the start of the season, Nick Castellanos has kind of struggled a little bit. Harper kind of struggled a
Yeah.
little bit. I mean, Schwarber has been Schwarber-esque, just batting around the 200 mark and, getting walks and hitting home runs and things like that. Uh, Obviously, Turner, much better start to this season than last season. And then the guys in the outfield, I mean, just between everybody out there doing their part to contribute, even when you have a guy who's like down and he's, ultimately they're not, when they're not hitting real well, they're picking it up in other ways, getting on base, being able
Yeah.
to steal bases and things like that. I mean, this is about as complete a team as I've seen this early in the season since, what was it, 2009, 2010.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a complete package right now. You're right, and even Kyle in the outfield for that rare game still made a great catch. It's clicking. It's really clicking, and you're right. Even with Castellanos struggling, and Bryce hasn't fully got going. That's what I mean. I feel there's more to come when those two start getting going. Obviously other players may regress, but it's just everybody's carrying each other right now. Everyone has each other's backs, and it's just the crowds are fantastic. The atmospheres are fantastic. Even last night in that rain-drenched game, it was great when I was there for the Red Series in the game that, was about 100 people. Even still, everyone who was there was making noise. And it's just, there's a great feel between the players, the coaches, the fans. Are you getting that now? When you're going, are you getting that? You're looking around, the ballpark's packed. I'm
Yes.
looking around other ballparks and it's got nothing on CBP right now. There just seems to be a real sense of belief.
Yeah, it reminds me back in the 2008 2012 era when it was the toughest ticket to get in Major League Baseball and maybe in Philadelphia in general. It's been tough to get tickets. They've been going much higher. Standing room only tickets going
Yeah,
for $70. That tells me that everybody's showing up. That when you have 36 to 42,000 people in attendance on a Thursday night and a Wednesday night, that's when things are really clicking on all cylinders. And the Phillies aren't disappointing either. I mean, I remember, let's think about 2 years ago when I was going to every game and there would only be about 22,000 people in the
yeah,
stands.
yeah.
And then it wasn't until they beat St. Louis and they came back home after taking one of two from Atlanta in that series. And all of a sudden, you had 46,000 people there screaming their heads off. And
Absolutely. I remember the final Girardi days. I was at the games actually on Girardi's final game against the Giants. And then when they sacked him and Topper took over that first LA series. And you're right, there was only about 30,000 there. But even so, at that point, as soon as Girardi was sacked, you could just feel something, an end of an era that way. And Topper coming in. Of course, that was the Bryce Harper Grand Slam, the Stott walk-off. That was an incredible weekend as it was. But just you're right. Ever since that Cardinals game, the playoffs, the Braves series, and since then it has just sparked. And even over here, the fan meetups we're getting at Passyunk for the games, the interest has just risen with it, and we're on a high. Like the window's now, to win the World Series, the window's right now. We got to do it, But but early days. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I have a bad habit getting ahead of myself, but I'm feeling good. I don't know about you. I think everyone's feeling, we're all trying to remain feet on the ground, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this team, if it really does click, could do it.
Well, and that's exactly it. Obviously, we're what, maybe a quarter of the way done the season. There's still a lot more baseball to go. We have to, the injury bug hasn't hit us at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
touch wood.
obviously, Turner right now is going to be out for a few weeks, but right now everybody is moving in the right direction, and things are happening the right way, and I just want them to maintain. It never mattered to me whether they got in first place or not, or had the best record in baseball. I care about winning championships, and that means I want them playing their best baseball in late September and early October, all the way in. And I've been saying it. I've been saying it since before spring training, that the Phillies are going to make the very last out of this baseball season, and
Let's
we're going to
go.
be having a parade down Broad Street.
I've got 10 days left to take off at work, and I'm holding on to him until NLCS weekend and then World Series after the World Series, because there's just something in me that believes I'm going to need those days off come end of October, early November. Then hopefully we can keep it going tonight. National TV tonight, unfortunately, no UK friendly. Jamie, let's talk about the Philly sports guy. This I remember seeing you for the first time about, I think it was 2015 at a game, and I was like, "Who's that guy?" I was just absorbed by you. The energy, the just the way people gravitated towards you, and just the happiness you generally bring. For those who don't know, where did this all come from? When did it start? What was the idea and inspiration behind it when it all started?
So ultimately, it started with the Eagles. I've been painting up for Eagles games for going on 25 years. And I got recognized at a playoff game, and a production company asked me to come in and do a commercial for them for a charity. And I went in there, and they said to me, like, after just doing the commercial, they're like, "Your energy is amazing. You're like the Philly sports guy. You should see if that name's available." And it was. And ultimately, they said, if you want to try to do this, if you want to learn social media, we'll help you and we'll teach you. And ultimately, it was like, okay, let's try to do this. And then um, I was thinking to myself, I'm not the Eagles sports guy, I'm the Philly sports guy. And I love going to sporting events in general. So I transferred it over to originally the Flyers, which was the next team, and
Yeah.
then the Phillies. And I won't forget the first time I ever went to a Phillies game in full face paint, where I started to get really recognized, was during COVID. And I had a clear mask. It was just straight clear, and I did the paint underneath, and I was yelling at a Mets fan, and the Mets fan was up in the suites, and I was down in the 100 level, and I'm yelling up and pointing at him, and somebody took a picture, and it was like this great picture that kind of just explained it all. It was me yelling at the Mets fans, and we almost came back and won that game. They were up like 12-2, and we wound up losing that game like 12-9 or 12-10. And it was just it was a fight at the end, and they just took that picture of me, and it started to explode from there. And then I just, every game that I went to, I just, all right, I'm going to paint up, and whatever their jersey is, I'm going to paint those colors. And so the pinstripes were done, and then the creams, I would do the creams, and then I did what I call my Papa Smurf, which is the powder blues,
Yeah.
where I look like Papa Smurf because I have the red mohawk
Yeah.
and the blue paint. And people just kind of loved it. I would walk around the stadium, and everybody would take pictures, and then it would always wind up at the right place at the right time. For instance, like when the Mets fan got his phone thrown on the field, I happened to be standing right there.
Yeah.
When Harper hit the home run against San Diego, and they have three shots. They show me in the outfield.
Yep.
They show a guy holding a Harper fathead, and then they show Harper swinging uh, the swing of his life. And it's just been amazing, just the outpouring of, you know Hey, we love you. We love seeing you. The kids come out to the park painted as me.
That's
It's really
awesome.
brought another level of excitement to the ballpark beyond what's already happening on the field between the Phillies and the Fanatic, and just as gorgeous a ballpark as it is. I just get to add to the excitement.
It does. It adds to the experience. Absolutely. Like you're always there looking. Where's the Philly sports guy? Like you were. You were. I don't think you were there when I was there during the Red Series. Although the weather was terrible, so it wouldn't have been.
No, no, I've been staying away from rain days at the moment because obviously I melt in the rain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it only I only go to rain games when it's like a surprise situation, because I've spent too many games there, and it starts to get a lot on me when it's
I can
raining
imagine.
and we're on a delay. I I take a lot of pictures anyways, but it's really compounded, and when people get packed together, they start to get a little bit more antsy, and I try to stay away from it a little bit just because it gets a little too much.
It must do. I was going to ask: is there ever times when you feel like you do need to take a break and a little step back from it all, because it must be quite intense, especially when the Eagles are in season, the Flyers, the Sixers, and the Phillies, and the Union. You've got it all going on, and it must take a little bit out of you sometimes.
In 2022, the month of October and November, that 6 week time span, uh, we determined, and I actually had a college reach out to me. They wanted to do a little bit of a class on me. Interestingly enough, it was like a biology class that said if I was the start of a COVID type disease, how quickly would it have spread just in that month, for that 6 week time span between October and November, where the Phillies were going, the Eagles were going,
Yeah.
the Flyers had started, the Sixers had begun, and it was determined that I took like somewhere around 30 to 50,000 pictures, and that
Wow.
I touched somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 200,000 people, and that they determined that just by me, if I was the carrier of COVID, that the world would have been infected in that 6 weeks time span entirely.
That is insane. When you break it down like that, that is absolutely insane. It must also be a buzz as well, and it takes some balls, right? Dressing up in the face paint. Do you ever get nervous before, or when you first started doing it? Did you ever get slightly nervous, like, here we go? Because sometimes
No,
when I'm doing vlogs around the ballpark, I'm like, ah, it I don't know. I do get a little bit nervous sometimes, but for you, I suppose it's also natural for you now.
it is, and it took a while to learn to talk to my phone. I mean, it
Yeah.
was when I first, the very first video that ever went viral for me was an Eagles video. And I had a kid come up to me and he goes, "Man, you went viral." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "Man, you had your video had like 6 million views." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And ultimately, and then when I started, it was like, "Okay, I'm doing this and I'm putting out content and nobody's watching." And it was like
Yeah.
kind of interesting because I'm like, I'm putting out what I think is great content, but nobody's paying attention. And then over time, people started to follow. But of course, what really does it is when the Philadelphia teams lose. When I would put myself out there, and ultimately the team would come back and the team would lose, I was that's those are what my biggest videos are.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
uh when I say that the season is over, I am like the sound boy for the last,
Yeah.
for losing your last game in the season. And it's, those are the ones that always go viral. But I just kept working through it, and you had to get past the haters. There's lots of
Oh,
haters,
yeah, yep.
but the haters are the sign that you've made it, because
Exactly that.
the haters are more loyal than your followers. They're the ones that your followers are going to like and move on. The haters are going to sit there and watch your video 6 or 7 times to figure out what to say because they want to hate on you.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I had to learn not to talk back.
That's
Just
it.
like dismiss them now. Now it's like I don't even hear you over the cheering. The cheering around me is much louder than the haters now.
Absolutely. And it always helps when the Phillies teams are also doing well, because you ride the wave as well. Because it's amazing how Philly sports dictates everyone's mood and happiness and mental health. It really is. When the Philly sports are doing well at the Phillies right now, life's good. Life's great. Everybody's happy, waking up to all these wins. And it definitely helps, again, the engagement and the likes. I find it on my account as well. When the Phillies are hot, you ride the wave. When they're not, well, I don't really post anyway. I just turn social media off after a loss. I can't do it. Where are we? Are all your videos done in one take, or have you ever gone, got to start again, because they look like they're all in one take.
I am the king of one takes. I have had to restart. I could probably count, I think now, like on both hands, how many videos I've ever had to retake.
Wow, that's impressive.
Just because it's, I mean, I'm used to it, and you just do it and send it out there. If it sounds great, great. If it misses the mark, the next video will be better. So I just, it's one of those things where I've just kind of learned, hey, I'm just going to put my feelings out there, and that's really what it's all about. When
Right.
Philadelphia fan, we wear our passion for our sports teams on our sleeves. So when I'm excited, it's easy to be able to do that. When I'm frustrated, it's easy to kind of show that too. And I kind of help the sentiment. I help give a voice to the people that don't do this, that really say what he said. I agree with him because
Absolutely.
he's the one that's super excited. He's the one that's really frustrated with what's going on. And he's talking for me a little bit. And I don't ever want to put words in anybody's mouth. And I don't ever say I speak for everyone, because everybody else has got an opinion too. And I don't ever like to think of myself as the greatest fan. I'm just a fan who wears different makeup than everybody else.
Yeah. Right. But you
So
have this. But you have that passion that Philly is so renowned for. Yeah, and that's what I love. I remember when I first saw you, I'm like, that's Philly. That guy is Philly sports to me right there. That passion he has. That's what I feel. He's saying exactly what you said. He's sort of saying what I feel. And I think, again, you do it so well. Does your voice? If I have to have time out for your voice, does it get husky? Does it get slightly sore? Your throat?
so
It
I
must
would
do.
say I typically am loud in general. So most of the time, no. However, the month of October and November in 2022, uh, my voice changed forever. I'm deeper now. I have a deeper voice than what I did
Wow.
even back then. And I used to be able to, uh, you know, sing when I did sing like three and being within 3 octaves or so. Not anymore. I'm down to like two
Wow.
octaves. I don't have that higher range that I used to, and that was from just stressing my vocal cords, where I was raspy towards the end of the because
Yeah.
not only were we in the NLCS, but the soccer team was also in
Yeah, the
their
union,
Eastern
yeah.
Conference championship, and the Eagles were doing great. So it was like nonstop. It was like every other day there was me yelling. And during that time, the Flyers started out the season like 7-0,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
winning begets winning. When there's one team and the electricity transfers over, and you start getting that electricity in Lincoln Financial Field, in Subaru Park, in the Wells Fargo Center. And like I said, winning is contagious.
Yeah.
So when you start winning, that's why I feel when the Phillies do win the World Series, that's going to start a chain reaction that I believe could really propel the Philadelphia sports scene to mimic something that happened in 1980, where all the sports teams went to the championship.
Yeah, because you feel like they're not far. The Flyers had, at the beginning of the Flyers season, nobody expected them to get to the playoffs. They had a great year. All in all, yeah, it was disappointing how it ended, but you feel, well, they're potentially not far away. The Sixers, they're not far away. The Eagles, not far away. The Phillies, not far away. But you're right. If the Phillies can just bring it home, It's because it is the Philly sports teams all do seem to do well at the same time. It's no coincidence,
Right.
but it's just that final, just the final over the line, getting over the line. Is just been the problem of late. But I feel if one of us can do it, and hopefully the Phillies, I think you're right. I think this could just set a precedent, and then Philly sports could just go well to the moon. It
Exactly.
really could. And just imagining the state of Philly and the fan bases is insane, and it will be a lot of fun. How many games would you say you do a year in a calendar year?
Oh, so we figured it out to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 160 to 180 games.
That's
Obviously,
insane.
I go to every Eagles game, which on great seasons is 20 games. Last year was only 18 games because we only went to the
Yeah,
one playoff game. The Phillies is somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 games because of going as many games during the regular season as I can, and then as many playoff games as I can make it to. And then, of course, the the Flyers, the Sixers are about 25 to 30 games each. The Union's about 15 to 20 games. The Wings are about
yeah, yeah.
another 5 to 10 games. So any Philadelphia franchise that I could go to, I'm going to go to and support.
Are you able to actually see much of the games and take it in with everybody asking you for pictures and doing your videos? Did you actually get to see much of the games as well?
No.
But that's
I would say that I probably get to see more in the seventh and eighth innings than during the game. Uh,
yeah.
as funny as this sounds, I brought my son to one of the playoff games last year, and he's 15 years old, uh, and not the biggest of sports fans. As funny as that sounds, and in the playoffs, we're there, and of course it's bases loaded and Stott's up to bat, and I got him some ice cream, and he went to go climb the wall in the like that kids wall that they
Yeah.
have behind center field and right field, and when he hit that grand slam, I had to put the phone really close to my face because I needed to let everybody. I had to kind of show like
Yeah.
that there wasn't anybody around me because everybody's watching the game and I'm watching him climb the wall. So it was kind of unique where I didn't even see that grand slam, but it's such an iconic video for me because I we're right in the middle of it and I have it right up at my face because I didn't want to show that there's nobody around me. And I was standing there
That's
by myself
incredible.
watching that.
That's good. That was against the Marlins, wasn't it? The wild card was it the wild card Grand Slam?
Yes, yes, it
Yeah,
was.
man,
So
magic memories. What for you? What are your best memories? It can be Phillies and any Philly sports throughout the years. What's up there with the highlights, and also then the worst because Philly sports is very up and down. So your highest and your lows.
So, I mean, a lot of them are Phillies stuff. It's because I was there in '93 when the game started at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we stayed till 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Mitch Williams with the pinch hit, to walk off.
Yeah,
I was there when Mitch Williams threw a 1-2-3 ninth inning against the Braves, uh, at Veterans Stadium. I was there in 2008, 13 rows from the field. Uh, Behind the Tampa Bay dugout when we won the World Series in game 5 for both halves of that. And the mother of my children was the one who bought me the ticket because it was my birthday. My birthday is October 20th. So it's always right around
oh
that
yeah,
time. And that was my birthday present. And we were about to have a baby. So my son was about to be born about a month and a half later.
wow.
And we were getting offered like ridiculous amounts of money for the tickets. And I'm like, there's no way that I can give this up. There's no chance that I could turn down possibly watching us win the World Series. And so those are some of the highlights. Obviously being there for Harper hitting that home run. I mean,
Yeah,
that may have been the absolute loudest I've ever heard any ballpark whatsoever. Winning the NFC Championship game with the Eagles was amazing. Same thing with the Union being there for their Eastern Conference championship. Uh, Also was amazing. Uh, The down moments, there's been, sitting there and watching that no hit World Series after we hit 7 home runs and then get the rain delay.
Yeah.
We get rained out. Imagine if we didn't get rained out and it was just one after another. That actually, it was that baseball game that was when I missed my first ever football game in like 4 years
Oh wow.
because it was on the same Thursday that they were playing in Houston for, the Eagles were playing in Houston on a Thursday night game, and I'm at the World Series. So it was the first game that I had missed in 4 years of an Eagles game. But playoffs are always more important than regular season.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Just a completely different intensity. Being there in 2022 and last year for the playoffs for the first time in my fandom just blew me away. And because I started following in 2012, and then throughout those years, everyone's going, wait till they get to the playoffs. You experience nothing like it. And it got to a point around 2019, 2020 where I'm thinking, is this going to happen soon? And then when we
Right.
finally got there, and I was lucky enough to be there for the Reese bat spike, which for me will be number one. Last year was awesome, beating the Braves. The Harper home run was awesome, but for me, being a big Reese fan, that bat spike, that home run, everything it meant, it was the first big playoff moment in recent Phillies history as well. The noise, the hysteria was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
The park was shaking. It was
Yes.
physically shaking. The energy, and I've been to so many sporting events and so many huge soccer games over here, and never for that moment of euphoria have I just hugged. I ran up and down the concourse, hugging strangers, jumping around, celebrating. Like you saw black out. Like a minute later, you stood there going, "What just happened?" What?
Right.
What was going on? And then again the next day, JT inside the Parker, Brandon Marsh went yard, and just beating the Brave on both those occasions. Last year as well, the Harper home run, that was special. The stare down, yeah, there is nothing like playoff baseball, and damn, even just thinking about it now, I get tingles.
It
Like
gives you goosebumps. It makes your hair
right,
stand
it,
up.
it really
It,
does.
it's been absolutely amazing. And you think about in 2022 where we made it in Houston in the last series. You
Yeah,
know,
all places. Yeah,
yeah, it was funny because obviously we won that game, the second game of the series or the first game of that series, and we clinched. They went out and partied. The next game, they almost got no hit.
yeah,
They wound
yeah,
up they wound up getting a hit with 2 outs in the ninth, and that's how they wound up like ending their season. The next game they wound up playing it out. I think they
yeah,
lost that
yeah.
game too, but it didn't matter. And I remember being out in Arizona because the Eagles were playing the Cardinals that day or that weekend, and I was having a putt putt charity event, and nobody showed up because the Phillies were playing because it was 11 o'clock in the morning out there when the Phillies are playing. So 1 o'clock when I was supposed to have my event, everybody's still watching the Phillies. And they came back and they won that game in the eighth inning, if you remember.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then they crushed in game two. And then the first two games away, I left Arizona and I went to Atlanta. And I was there for the two games in Atlanta for those. And the first game we won. The second game, I wore the blues early. I wore my blue paint early because I wanted to change it up a little bit. And we lost that game. And that started like the first of my 7 game losing streak wearing the Thursday blues. I was
Ooh.
like, I don't want to wear them anymore.
I don't blame you. And looking ahead, the London series, you're coming over. Is this your first time to London, or have you been before?
I have been to London a long time ago. I traveled. So when I graduated high school, I went right into the Navy. So,
Right.
and I knew this going into my senior year. So my junior year, between my junior and senior year, I went backpacking through Europe. And I started in Ireland. I went to England and spent 5 days in London, stayed with a family out in Lichfield. I'm not
Okay. Yeah.
exactly sure how far out that is. They took me to a cricket match. I went to go to Wimbledon. I got to
Oh
sit at the
wow.
main court to watch. Uh, it was Connors playing that day, and then also Chris Everett before she became Chris Everett Lloyd. So
Right.
that's how
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I'm
Wow.
dating myself now. So had black pudding. I learned all
Oh, you
about
did it
London.
all. You really did it all.
Yes, I did. And it was amazing. I remember going to, I'm like, what's Piccadilly Circus? I'm figuring I'm going to go see a whole bunch of animals. It's just a bunch of shops. I didn't know any better. And I wound up meeting the Welsh girls choir and went ice skating with them. I'm like,
Wow.
really? This is so those are some of the memories I have of London.
Wow, that's awesome, and I say we're so excited to have you over. When are you flying in? What's the plans for London series for yourself?
So I'm traveling with Philly Sports Trips,
Yep,
and
we got
we are going to be
Vince.
getting over there. I believe it's June 6th, and then we're staying there to the 12th. So obviously we're getting the two games on the 8th and the 9th, and then spending a couple extra days just to be able to go see some of the things now with an older eye. Yeah, I was such a
Yeah,
young kid
yeah.
running around the streets of London. Now I get to kind of see it and do some actual sightseeing.
It's going to be incredible, and hopefully you can pop by Passyunk Avenue as well because there's going to be huge parties
I
happening
figure
there with
that's
Philly
one of the
fans.
first stops I'm doing. I don't know what's happening the day before the series begins, but on the 7th, I was expecting to get all painted up and show up there. I'm just going to
Yes,
show up. And
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Passyunk Avenue, Waterloo. They're turning. So it's the Waterloo site. For those that don't know, is underneath what they call the London Arches, Leek Arches, which is underneath Waterloo Station. Great place. And the Waterloo site is a proper Philly dive bar. It's dark, sports screens everywhere. Good beer, good American food, wings, cheesesteaks, legit. And in the
nice.
tunnels where they're shutting it all down and they're creating a Reading terminal market, London style. So they're going
That's
to have
amazing.
DJs, they're going to have big screens, they're going to have loads of food and drink vendors, tailgate games. We're hoping to get some special guests in there as well. And to have you down there as well, all painted up, is just going to add to it. So that'll be magic on the Friday.
I am way excited. I mean, it's this has been. I mean, once this came out, I was like, oh my lord, that's going to be amazing. And I'm wondering, I'm like, I'm assuming that the stadium is a football stadium, a
Yep.
soccer stadium. So I'm interested to see how they make it into a baseball
Oh,
stadium.
it's
And
it's it's incredible. I was down there last weekend, been shown around and how they do it.
yep.
It takes them 2 weeks to turn it around. Like home plate is in the tunnel where they walk out. They've got to completely reconstruct it. They've got to move some stands around because it's still temporary. The football club West Ham don't actually own the stadium, so they play in there during the football season. And then when they're done, they're out because they have big music festivals and concerts there. The baseball, Monster Jam's heading there soon as well, which is a huge event. So everything West Ham comes down. The transformation is unbelievable. They even increased the capacity to 66,000, which is going to be packed out that weekend. And it's good. And there's no bad views around. They do a great job. The bullpens are in the outfield. There's plenty of space. First time they had it, it was the Red Sox Yankees. And there was a few things they learned from that, having some warm-up areas, a bit more space behind home plate. They extended the outfield a little bit, and last year's Cubs card game, I thought they nailed it. I thought it was brilliant. The weather was great. Touch wood. That's my biggest fear right now is the rain. But June is genuinely a very, very good month in London and in the UK. And it's unique. The whole area of Stratford stadium was there for the Olympics back in 2012, and that whole area got completely transformed. So have you been to Nationals Park? Nationals Park?
Yes, I have been.
It's a bit similar to that. You got a lot of sports bars, and so you got a lot of restaurants, bars, shopping, all in that area. But to a far grander scale, this is one of the biggest complexes in Europe. Um, and you've got Hackney, the other side, which has got some great breweries, some great pizzerias and pubs, and quite artsy vibe area. The area is fantastic. Olympic Park's fantastic. The stadium's fantastic. And the atmosphere, more than anything else, is brilliant because you're going to have thousands of Philly fans who travel well. As we know, the Seven Line Army and the Mets fans are all coming over, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've also got fans there from all over Europe repping every single baseball team there is, their own, either who they play for in Europe. Every MLB team's repped. So many World Baseball Classic jerseys repped. It is just the atmosphere in the festival. It is a festival of baseball, is the way I can best describe it. It's like a bubble. It's like a big baseball bubble, and everybody's happy. Everybody's there for the love of the sport. I think this year with the Phillies Mets rivalry, there'll be more intensity. Like this feels like a proper, Cubs and Cards, no disrespect to them. It's a good rivalry. It's there, but the Phils and Mets, this is
I
the
mean,
Phils.
I love it when the Seven Line Army comes down to Philadelphia. Obviously, they do one game a year in Philly. I always go up and I welcome them the way that I do that. And they know me now. Like, it's like a lot
Yeah,
of those guys follow me because of our friendly banter
yeah,
and the
yeah,
way
yeah.
that we go back and forth. I mean, because the one thing that Mets fans know is that at the end of the season, they're going to Mets it up, and it's and
Right,
then they're going
right.
to wind up out. And I remember they beat us that 17 games, they wound up winning like 14. We were like
Yeah,
3-14, and they're knocked out in the first round, and we go to the World Series. So
it's
like
very
those are,
bittersweet, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
we had the last laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being at that game where we're up like 8-1 in the ninth inning,
Oh,
and
no, I've still got nightmares. Still got nightmares over that. I went to bed after that eighth inning thinking, and I even woke up. I didn't even check the score the next morning because I just there was no chance we lost. And I remember in
right.
the middle of the morning going, "Where does that put us in the standings now? I wonder how we're doing." And then I looked and it's like I turned on social media and I just could not believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, that was a tough night. That was a very tough night because it was a little chilly as well, and
Yeah,
it was. I'm sitting there and I'm making videos, and then I'm making more videos, just saying, "Hey, we ain't done yet." And then I'm like, "Oh wow, this is really
yeah. This is
gone a
it
little
happened.
too far." And it's like, "All right, well, I guess we lost." But
Uh, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. I cannot wait to connect with you when you're in London and do some. We're going to do some videos together. We're going to collaborate. But
absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna have my phone. I'm gonna have like 4 different charging banks with me because I feel like I'm gonna be using my phone literally nonstop. But I'm excited. I'm assuming you're gonna be doing a live broadcast one of those days. So
yep,
I'm gonna
yep.
jump on that. Figure I'll just invite myself on. I'm gonna
You
just
don't even need to introduce
trash
yourself.
the party.
I'm introducing myself. Everybody knows who you are, Jamie. Everybody knows who you are, and I'm excited. And having you there as the Philly sports guy just going to add to the experience. Like I said, people are excited to see you. They're excited to have their picture with you. You're up there with the fanatic. You're a trademark to the Phillies and Philly sports team.
And I really do appreciate that because it's funny how like people will they're like, oh well, I can't get a picture with the Fanatics, so I got the Philly sports guy, and that's the same thing. And it's like to be put on that level is just amazing, and I really am appreciative. Of everybody who follows that and is excited to see me. To be honest, I'm just as excited to see you guys. Like I'm going to geek out over there just as much as you guys are going to geek out on me because it's a new experience, and the fact that I get to bring my energy to add to it is just awesome.
Amazing. One final thing I've got to ask. Do you ever pinch yourself sometimes? Like you're at the draft, you're at the biggest events, you're worldwide renowned for in sports and sports bases. Do you ever pinch yourself and go, "What is this? Is surreal. What's going on?" Do you ever have any of those that moment sometimes?
Sometimes there are times where I for instance, when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, I took an Uber ride, and that Uber ride was about 45 minutes long to get from where I was staying to the stadium. And I literally, I thank God I brought my makeup with me to touch up, because I just started kind of crying, because all the things that I've done and all the things that I've been to just kind of hit home. And it was like, when you're there and you're seeing it all, and it's like, I was at the World Series, I was at the Eastern Conference Finals for the soccer team, and now I'm at the Super Bowl, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, that this is, and that everybody knows me. Everybody's looking to me to be part of the excitement and to get themselves more excited. And I'm just honored. I'm honored in so many different ways, and blessed to be able to do this and to share my experiences with so many other people. Uh, like I said, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but the ones that don't like it, it doesn't matter anymore, because there's so
Right.
many people that I've been able to touch that I don't even know. That it just absolutely, it amazes me, and I'm humbled.
Jamie, I love that. I absolutely love that. That's a great note to end on as well. Um, Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming up. For those who maybe don't know, where can they find you on the socials?
You go on to any type of search engine, the Philly Sports Guy, and you're going to find me. I'm Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. The Philly Sports Guy is everywhere. As I say, I'm like Visa, everywhere you want to be.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you for watching and for listening. This has been Broad Street to Britain, the UK Footy Show. We've got some more guests lined up very soon as we build up to the London series. We are less than 5 weeks away. I talk about pinching ourselves. I can't believe I'm even saying that. The Phillies will be here in under 5 weeks. The Philly Sports Guy, the Fanatic, Bryce Harper. Wow. Guys, see you soon. Thank you.
Let's go, Phillies. Yeah.
I love